Then you go to Oklahoma. That's like the only time hasn't had to compete against somebody for his job. And he still had to compete for it because he was the new sheriff in town. So he's been built and prepared for this, for these moments. So if you're competing against Deshaun Watson for your job, I think he's okay with that because Deshaun Watson's not here.
Hurts 365 on the opening day of the 2021 season. Well, not opening day. That's down the road against the Atlanta Falcons on a Sunday afternoon. But the Eagles are getting together and are going to do some football things. Not rock, paper, scissors. No, actual football work today for the first time in this season. And we're here to talk about it with you, Jody McDonald, and my partner today, Jeff Kerr, filling in for John McMullen, who was down at Eagles practice. Yeah, he's going to be filling out paperwork for the next 2 hours, making sure that he's COVID tested and or vaccinated and everything. That is something I do want to get into with you, Jeff, about the whole vaccination issue across the National Football League. But first things first, know that you just put up on CBSSports.com within the last 24, 48 hours an article on the Eagles about the 10 things we think we know about the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Give me your mindset as to putting that together as to how easy an article or how difficult an article it was to give you 10 things. Was it difficult because you had more like 20? Was it difficult because, like, truth be told, you had 5 and had to reach for the other 5? When you put your 10 things you think you know about the Philadelphia Eagles this year, how did you come about putting it together?
So, Jerry, it's a funny story. When I come up with certain ideas, I'm usually on my run. Like, I'm on my 6-7 mile run, and I'm just kind of
whoa. 6-7 mile run?
I can go.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I get tired if I drive 6 or 7 miles. You still run 6 or 7 miles a day?
I love it. I got to stay in shape. So, yeah, so that's usually where I kind of detox a little bit, kind of get away from the computer, and I start thinking about things I want to write about. And, I was thinking about the Eagles on the run, just trying to get the run done as quick as I could. And I said, what do I know about this Eagles team? And I'm like, well, I think they're going to be this, and I think they're going to be that. So I get back, and I rush to my phone, and I pitch the idea to my boss. He's like, I love it. And so I'm like, all right, then I'm going to start writing. And, I'm like, well, Jalen Hurts should be the quarterback, so we'll start there. And, it just kind of snowballed. I'm like, okay, let's go this position. Let's go that position. What do we think we know about Nick Sirianni? What do we think we know about Howie Roseman? I'm pretty sure Devonta Smith's going to be pretty good, so I'll put that in there. And, I love to mention the Zach Ertz situation, and I wanted to get into the defensive line. I think they're going to be really good. The offensive line, I think they're going to be really good. So, yeah, it was just kind of more of me jotting down my thoughts. And there are certain things I love to look at the end of the season, Jody. And one of them is, was I right on this or was I wrong? It's one of my favorite things to do. And, yeah, I'm definitely going to look at this in January and say, okay, like, how many of these did we get right, or did we think we know about this football team?
All right, I know your first one was about Jalen Hurts and him being the starting quarterback, and we need to focus on that. The fact that he's a starting quarterback and he's going to win or lose this season, and whatever's going to happen in 2022 is 2022. But let's stay in the moment with Jalen Hurts right now. How difficult is that going to be? I asked this of Barrett. Let me put it to you as well. That there's competition and you're used to competition. It's usually someone on your own team that you're competing with. He's got to compete with this nebulous other person who could be the quarterback of the Eagles in 2022. And they're not even in the room right now. That it is a potential high first-round draft pick, that it could be a trade for a guy like Deshaun Watson. Last year, when Carson Wentz had to look Jalen Hurts in the eye, most people believe it got inside Carson's head, and that was a major contributing factor as to why he was putrid last year. Is it easier or more difficult to compete against an idea, someone who's not in that same room with you? How is Jalen Hurts going to be able to deal with that this year?
Well, in a way, Jalen Hurts has been pretty much doing this his whole life. I mean, he was a 5-star recruit in high school. So you're already competing against quote-unquote ghosts before you even commit to college. Like, you say he commits to Alabama. Well, Tua Tagovailoa committed to Alabama. You're also competing with guys who you're not even sure are going to commit to that program. So he's been used to that his entire life. And then when he gets to Alabama, you're competing against Tua. And then you end up competing against Mac Jones, who also became a first-round pick. Then you go to Oklahoma. That's like the only time he's hasn't had to compete against somebody for his job. And he still had to compete for it because he was the new sheriff in town. So he's been built and prepared for this, for these moments. So if you're competing against Deshaun Watson for your job, I think he's okay with that because Deshaun Watson's not here. He'll worry about Deshaun Watson when Deshaun Watson walks into the building, if he walks into the building. Same with Spencer Rattler, who he pretty well knows from Oklahoma, or Malik Willis from Liberty. Like, I'm sure these guys connect. Like, he's not worried about 2022. He's focused on, how can I be the best player today? How can I impress Nick Sirianni today? So maybe Nick Sirianni, if he has any input, can go to Allie Roseman. You know what? We might have our guy. You know, we don't need this Deshaun Watson. We don't need this quarterback next year. We might have our guy. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to handle it really well because he's always been in that spotlight. And I know it's ironic we're talking about this with the whole Simone Biles thing going on in the Olympics right now because she was built for this too. But I think Jalen Hurts is cut from a different cloth. I think he's been used to this, and he's got so much to prove at this point. So he wants to prove not that he's a starting quarterback in the National Football League, but a very good starting quarterback in the National Football League.
And that's what he's going to have to do in year number one. But I want to tie it down even further. Jeff Lurie, starting from the top down, Jeff Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, anyone on Nick's offensive staff, they're all going to be judging Jalen Rose and the type of season he has, and they're going to be able to give their 2 cents in organizational meetings as to whether that's good enough to go forward with this young man. If he is, what are they judging on? Yes, Nick and the coaching staff are going to be able to give inside information as to how he leads and how the players around him respond to him. Certainly, Howie is going to be doing his own scouting, Jeffrey as well. They're going to have all the analytics to use. Give me a couple of things and put them in whatever order you think they should be as to what Jalen Hurts is going to have to do to claim the starting quarterback position in 2022. It's going to have to be pretty significant because there are more proven quarterbacks out there who may be available. There always is the allure of someone you've never seen before but has been a star on the collegiate level, more so than Jalen Hurts was when he was there. What does Hurts have to do to say, I'm the 2022 quarterback in 2023, and this is my job and you guys aren't taking it from me?
The number one thing I think he has to do is not take off because your first read isn't there. If Devonta Smith is not open, you have to look for Jalen Reagor. You have to look for John Hightower, Quez Watkins, Greg Ward. You have to go through your progressions. That was my biggest concern with him last year. He just took off, which ended up working for him, but it's not going to work all the time. Teams are going to have film on this guy. So you got to go through your progressions here. So that's where that comes in. Completion percentage, I think that's got to improve. 52.9% just isn't going to cut it in the NFL. That's Tim Tebow-esque. You don't want that. So those are the 2 things I'm looking toward. But his biggest strengths are his legs and his ability to extend and run outside the pocket and basically extend the play. And I think that's what's going to get him the job. Like, he has to be 2000 Donovan McNabb in the sense where you buy yourself your time. Even though the offensive line can protect you, you still are wearing down the defense for 4 quarters. I think that's going to be his biggest strength. I think that's where he can have big games. Like, I see him as a Lamar Jackson, a Kyler Murray. And everybody likes to get on those guys, but those guys produce and they win football games, no matter the talent around them. And I think Nick Sirianni is going to put this quarterback in the best position to succeed by using his running backs, a la Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. And that's what I think you're going to see. They're going to give this kid an opportunity to, if he is a starting quarterback, he's going to get every opportunity to win football games for them because they're not going to rely on him to throw the football 40 times a game. If they are, the Eagles are in trouble. But if he can throw the football 25, 30 times a game, and if they run the football enough, they're going to be fine. But Jalen Hurts, these are the 2 things that he's really got going for him. His ability outside the pocket to extend the play and his command of the huddle. And I'll add a 3rd thing, his leadership. those are the three things to me I think they really should look at, but also how much he improves with the two things I mentioned earlier.
You mentioned Devonta Smith, that if he's the first read on any given play and he's not open, the QB can't be just pulling it down and taking off every single time. I think you're 100% right about that. The Eagles are going to need all their wide receivers to produce, including their tight end or tight ends, if Zach Ertz does stay all the way through camp and into the season. And Miles Sanders coming out of the backfield, their quarterback has options. But the number one option is Devonta Smith. You think so? I think so. I've been singing the praises of this kid for 2 years. I thought he was the best Alabama receiver 2 years ago when two of his teammates came out and were drafted in the top 20 picks in the draft. And he decided, surprisingly to me, to go back to school. Well, he went back and won a Heisman. Pretty good decision on his part. But I've loved this kid for 2 years running and didn't know he was going to end up here in Philadelphia and shut up. That's exactly where he does. How high is high? Deshaun Watson holds the Eagles record for most receiving yards as a rookie. It's in the 19 somewhere, 914, 917. I saw it the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was. Is that in Devonta's grasp? It should be, since they have an extra game this year, first time ever, 17 games in the National Football League. Can he be close to a 1,000-yard receiver here in year one, Devonta Smith?
I think so. And here's the thing, Jody. Like, if we remember correctly, Deshaun Jackson played year one. Jeremy Maclin played year one, and they put up some numbers. And Maclin had the disadvantage of playing with Jackson because Jackson was really good in year two. And he still put up, like, I think it was like 700-800 yards at that 2009 season. Devonta Smith's going to be the guy. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he got 100 catches in year one just because of the way this offense is going to work and how much they're going to rely on him. Like, I feel that highly of this guy. Like, the Eagles did not draft this guy to be a project. They drafted him to produce and produce immediately. And everywhere he's gone, he's been able to do that. Like, he was 5th, 6th on the depth chart at Alabama in Jalen Hurts' freshman year, and he produced a lot. And he had game-winning touchdowns, and he was able to do that while getting limited opportunities. You saw what happened when he became the guy. He just broke out and won the Heisman Trophy. He lived up to his 5-star status, and everybody wants to knock him for his lean frame and his weight. Well, it's gotten him pretty far in life so far. And look, just because you weigh 160 pounds doesn't mean you're 160 pounds of fat. You're iron. Like, this guy is just built. And if he stays healthy, which I think he's going to because he takes care of himself, I really do feel this guy can be a 100-catch, 1,000-yard guy. I really do, just because of what he brings to the table.
Jeff, your number 3 thing on the 10 things you think you know about the Eagles coming into the season was the Eagles are a better football team with Zach Ertz. I see where you're coming from, but do you think it's a better than 50-50 chance that Zach Ertz is here? Because I don't. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that he is elsewhere, that the Eagles are at some point going to back off whatever they think he's worth, a 3 or a 4, that they will weigh that against the fact that, yeah, Ertz is going to affect the way the play calling is going to go. If they really, truly want to become a 3-wide receiver team, if they're 2 of their 3 best wide receivers are tight ends, then the coaching's kind of obligated to get the 2 tight ends back on the field again. And I'll hold Sirianni to that because he did say, and when he did, I praised him for it, that he is going to be the kind of coach that is going to build his offense and call plays around the talents and skills that he has, not try and put that square peg in a round hole and make the players fit his defined system. I think that's the proper way to coach in the NFL. I was glad to hear Sirianni say it. Those things being factored in, I think the Eagles would still prefer to move Zach Ertz and be willing to go in another direction. Do you really think there's a better than 50-50 chance that he's going to be here for, say, more than a month in the National Football League with the Eagles this year?
Well, I don't think he's actually going to be here week 1, but I want to focus on who was here in camp now, and he is. Okay. And I look at it this way. I like Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert has a lot of potential, but I know what Zach Ertz is, and we've been through this before with 2 tight ends, Joe. You remember the Chad Lewis, L.J. Smith debacle? Oh, L.J. Smith, he's got all the talent in the world. He was a second-round pick. Well, L.J. Smith didn't do anything. Chad Lewis was still beating him out for job. And I know what Zach Ertz can do. Zach Ertz is if he sticks around, he is going to be the franchise's all-time reception leader, which only 5 tight ends in the NFL can hold claim to for their franchise. And Zach Ertz can easily be a part of that. And what I love about Zach Ertz is you can line him up in the slot if you really wanted to and still find a way to put him and Dallas Goedert on the football field. And Zach Ertz can still be productive. And Barrett Brooks was absolutely right. This kid has so much to prove this year, not only to himself, but the 31 other teams. And if he plays his way out of Philadelphia because he's that good, shame on the Eagles. Honestly, like I feel the Eagles, he could be such a weapon for Jalen Hurts in year one because he is a guy you could check down to. He's going to grind. He's going to be a professional. And if you get nothing for him at the end of the day, so be it. He's happy. The Eagles can move on with Goddard and give him that contract extension. That, Dallas Goedert does deserve. I think he's a top 10 tight end in this league, but I know what the Eagles have in Zach Ertz.
Interesting to see how that one shakes out. Your number 4 topic was the importance of the Steven Nelson decision. Yes, we've been clamoring for it for months now because we saw the Eagle depth chart and go, really? Avonte Maddox outside is their number 2 cornerback as of right now? Behind Darius Slay just didn't add up, didn't look right. And they played the patient game, the waiting game, and they got Steven Nelson on what seems to be a fair market deal. Not a team-friendly deal, but certainly not an overly expensive deal. I think Howie Roseman played his card successfully here, and they've got 2 solid starting cornerbacks now to begin the season. How do you think? And I know we don't know exactly yet because we've not seen a Jonathan Gannon defense yet, but we can try and speculate on those that he was around and those that he knew and those that he has taken his philosophy from. How is Steven Nelson going to fit into Jonathan Gannon's defense?
Well, for one, the Eagles are going to run a lot of zone coverage, and that's one thing I love about this. Steven Nelson was very, very good in zone coverage, not only last year, but when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs and his first year with Pittsburgh. He outperformed expectations, if you will, and he's gotten good contracts from 2 football teams now in Pittsburgh and the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's one thing I really like. And look, it was more of anything's better than Avonte Maddox, Michael Jacquet, Craig James, whoever you want to throw out there, because Darius Slay was going to be on an island and he was going to get torched. That's not going to happen anymore. He's actually going to have a decent number 2 cornerback he can rely on. And the Eagles have good coverage safeties too. And now you get to put Avonte Maddox in the slot. That's going to help Avonte. Zach McPherson can learn. I love that. I did not want this team throwing Zach McPherson into the fire, whether he was ready or not, because that's what's gotten these cornerbacks unable to develop. We saw that with Sidney Jones. We saw it with Rasul Douglas. Now this kid gets to learn in preseason from 2 really good cornerbacks in Darius Slay and Steven Nelson. So I love the signing. I thought it was necessary. It completes the defense. And now we can see if this defense can actually be a top 10, top 15 caliber defense, because in my mind, they have a solid starting 11 now.
Jeff Kerr, national writer for CBSSports.com, filling in for Johnny Mack today. With me, Johnny Mack heading down to Eagles practice. We may or may not be able to punch him up in the last 40 minutes of today's show. You got to stay tuned for that. We'll come back. Jeff's running down the 10 things that he thinks he knows about the Eagles coming up this season. We'll go over a couple of more next here on Birds 365.